Okay, so we're starting today, just to sort of frame what we're going to talk about, during the period of your life in the mid to late 1960s in the Deep South,
Right.
when you had just been recently ordained as a priest. And we're talking about this period specifically because of how it impacted you and helped you to gain a better understanding of racial justice. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Particularly racial justice.
Yes. So as I said, you've just been ordained, and you had hoped that you would be sent internationally to perhaps an African nation somewhere. But that's not what happened.
Right.
You were sent instead to Charleston, South Carolina. So can you tell me first a little bit about how you reacted to that decision?
I was disappointed, clearly. I thought that I would get that. It dates back to a very early time in my preparation, thinking about the priesthood, actually. I knew, for the audience that might not appreciate this, that the Catholic priesthood breaks into two different groups. One is a diocesan group that usually comes from a certain geographical area, studies for that area, and then goes back and serves in that area. The other are religious. They're not more holy than others, but it's just the designation that they have. And their work is with the charism or the gift of the community, and so they go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I belong to a missionary community. So as a young boy, I just sorted it out somehow in a way I can't even explain now, that I didn't want to be, as much as I respected them, like my diocesan priests.
Okay.
As good and holy and service-oriented as they were. So I wanted to do something else, and the missionary aspect was part of it. I can remember in the 8th grade, what really caught me into the particular group that I ended up with was a movie about Africa, and I was just smitten by that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when that kind of was a primordial feeling in myself. And so when this moment came, having asked that I would go, and many that did go, I was disappointed.
So first of all, thank you. That's helpful as a Jewish girl for me to understand the distinction
Yes,
between
yes.
two different paths, because I was not raised with that kind of awareness. Do you have a sense of why your superiors made the decision to send you to Charleston?
Well, I don't know that they made a decision particularly about Charleston, but there were 10 of us in our class,
Mm-hmm.
and we have missions here in the States as well as overseas. And half of my class went overseas, and half stayed here to fill out the works that we have here.
Okay.
I was chosen to be here rather than go across the street. I remember, though, just as a little personal note, it's a little embarrassing to say it, but I spoke to the man who assigned me many years later, and I said, "Why did you send me to that particular parish?" And he said, "You are an intense young man, and I thought that you needed to be embraced by loving people. And I saw those people in Charleston, and I thought that would be good, and you'd be a good priest as a result of that."
Mm.
That's a little nice story, I guess, but it was really very, very, very touching to hear him say that.
Well, also given your life as a peace builder, there was certainly a need for peace building in Charleston, South Carolina in the mid to late 1960s. So there may have been something else beyond that. What he stated was his decision. But anyway, can you set the stage for me in terms of what it was like when you got there? What did you notice? Who did you spend time with? How was it there?
Well, there are a lot of questions. Let me see if I can go through it, and you prompt me if
Sure.
I have to elaborate a little further. I don't know whether you've ever been to Charleston,
I haven't.
but it's a charming city. Palm trees and Spanish moss and old Civil War-like houses,
Nice.
and just really quite nice, particularly in the downtown area. And we lived pretty close to the downtown area in our parish. So all of that was good, but right below that was another aspect. One would remember from an old history lesson that Fort Sumter was there, and that was the beginning of the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
There is a section there, it's really a bit shocking when you realize it. It's all kind of touristy now, but it's a slave market.
Yeah.
That's what it was
Right.
at that particular time.
Yeah.
And one needs to go not too far outside the city, and one can find the grand plantations. And, discreetly they make mention of the place with the people that worked on the plantation lived.
Sure.
And so it was kind of a very mixed sort of a feeling. But Charleston itself gave me lots of other experiences, sort of at another level. There's the one level and then the second level, and I'm talking about a more personal level.
Sure.
I remember just starting there, and I was just there a week or so. And there was a young college student that spent a lot of time around the church. And he said that he was going to treat me one afternoon. And so after we finished Mass on Sunday, we got in my car and went out to a bowling alley. This is what he did, and this was a treat that he thought he'd offer me. And we were refused at the door because we were a mixed team.
Because he was
black and I was white, and that's not what they did in that particular bowling alley.
Only white people were allowed in the bowling
Exactly. Yeah. Now the real part that impressed me most was at how it affected the young man. He was ashamed and embarrassed. I remember feeling at the time that someone else should have been ashamed and embarrassed, not him.
Right.
But I mean, he was almost reduced to tears because of that kind of experience he had. Maybe I'm getting ahead of the story, but at a certain point when things were really kind of unsettled in the city, with marches and things like that, and Martin Luther King was there, and I had a chance to listen to him in a church basement on a Sunday night, and it was just powerful. And then Andrew Young, who was a famous civil rights worker, was there, and he marched with us at a certain time. So you had a chance of getting sort of dirt in your fingernails about this kind of situation that was going on at that particular time.
And you, as a white person, were welcomed into being part of the community?
Well, yes, we were, but we were also somewhat isolated in a way. We were the only ones in the city that were working with African Americans, Catholic priests. I mean, that was the church that you went through if you were black or African American.
Okay.
And you would hear once in a while, just casually almost, that we were the N priests of that particular.
The N-word priests.
That's right, the N-word priest. And that was, I took it as a sort of a touch of pride rather than an antagonism, because that was part of what I understood our priesthood was about, and what our mission was about there.
Right. Also, in addition to the racial tensions and the civil rights uprisings that were starting, I remember you also talking about how it was also just kind of regular life going on.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to express somewhat, but it was like a community within a larger community. Now, that's a little fabricated, because many of the people in the African American community went out to jobs at the shipyard or the post office or teaching, and so they mingled with others. But aside from that, the world itself was sort of self-contained. They did all the things among themselves. They had their celebrations, their feasts, their pains, and they kind of lived at within the larger community, and realized kind of intuitively, and that's why the young man that I mentioned earlier was probably so upset that he didn't know that. They should know the signals, and he missed that one, and he embarrassed himself and me in the context of that.
So you were there, what, 4 years, 5 years?
4 years.
4 years. Getting to know many families, spending time observing the political climate, all of that. Here we are, it's 2018, almost the end of 2018, and I wonder if, without sounding kind of too simplistic or too trite, but in the context of Black Lives Matter and the movement and everything that's going on politically right now, is there anything, any kind of lessons that you learned, anything from then, anything you maybe could apply to now to give us kind of something to hold on to in the current struggle that's happening?
Yes, I guess I can. Well, one is for a lesson learned. It was my first experience. I mean, it was kind of the mythology of the community that I belonged to, that you would go to another people and you would mingle with them and serve them and learn their language and be part of their life experience. But here I was experiencing that, not in another country, but in my own country.
Right.
And that was, in kind of a collective way, it was the major experience that I had. Just getting in as close as I could. And as you look at my later time that I spent in Charleston, I got a master's degree in an all-black school. I was hungry and thirsty to get as close to their experiences as I possibly could, and that was a way of accomplishing that. In terms of learning for our own time, I don't think I can be some great philosopher in this sense, but I would say kind of what I learned from that time that comes here, that I don't think any of us, I think this racial, systematic racism is in the guts of our society itself. And for me to say that I'm excused from that, because I've had these experiences or done this or say this or done action here, it's just not real. So that would be the thing that we should take into our own time. So you can say, well, that policeman shot Trayvon Martin or Michael, I'm remembering his name now, Michael, no, it's going now, it doesn't matter. But that's not so. That there's something that lingers in us that would still be there. And I suspect in that Charleston experience I did that. I just didn't make a flip real quickly, and I was part of them, and that was all part of the experience somehow. But they leave lots of room for you to make mistakes and to fumble, and that's just kind of great in itself.
So in the context then maybe of this broader effort of seeing peace that we're talking about in various segments of your life, part of seeing peace then is to see your own place in the world in relation to other communities. So to see your own whiteness and acknowledge that you're in a different kind of circumstance than other people who may feel much more oppression on the day-to-day.
Yes, that puts it really quite nicely. Even though you are made this giant effort to try to engage yourself with these people, still part of you, and part of the ugly part of you, is still there and comes up and shows itself in very unexpected moments somehow. Let me give you an example that's a little bit off target perhaps, but I have a priest friend that had the same yearning that I do to go over to work overseas. And so around in his 50s, he said, I want to go to Africa, that's it. Well, he insisted so much, but we all knew him, and he was really kind of addicted to the creature comforts of America, so to speak. But just a genuine guy and a good pastor and all. And he insisted on going to a very basic mission outpost, in a very extreme situation somehow. And we said to him, don't go, you can't make the adjustment, it's too late in your life. We all advised him to do this. And then he wasn't there 2 months, and he came home. And I waited until things settled a little bit, because there was a lot of commotion about him coming home and all. And I said, what made you think that you would come home? And he said, I shook hands with one of the Africans, and I found myself going like that after I did it. And I said, that's it. I don't belong here. So I only use that as an example that sometimes it doesn't leave us. It's still there and shows itself in ugly and unexpected moments. And that's both humbling and truthful. And I think that's the kind of a lesson we can bring into the present situation.
Sure, that's amazing. And also, in the context of a peace studies discipline and the desire that a lot of students have, similar to yours, that they want to go and do something over there, and the importance of also sometimes just looking right here,
That's right.
and what can be done right here, and that maybe we're better suited to try to help in some way right here than over there, because we know
That's right.
right here better,
Yes.
right?
And that's quite right. And matter of fact, that's been part of my life learning too. I mean, I can't go and stay overseas anymore, but I can teach and inspire others that are going to go on to do this, both here and overseas. I've done much of my work overseas
Yes.
now, has been helping other programs like ours here at the University of San Diego School of Peace Studies, helping that get underway overseas. Again, I'm not even teaching them, I'm teaching the teachers that
Sure.
will teach them, and
Yes.
that's a service unto itself, I guess.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you. That's very illuminating.
Good, thank you.